There's a lot of information that all of us are missing right now. So I thought I should make this video to at least try to cleanly explain what it means when you hear someone say, defund the police. We've all seen it, shouted it, posted it, liked it, but what does it actually mean? Why is this the thing that people are pushing for?
Misinformation.
Alright, here we go. Actually, quick disclaimer at the top here. The purpose of this video is to try to clarify the top line reasons for why the civil rights movement is currently focusing on defunding the police. I am not going to cover every detail, but every detail is important, so please check out the informative links in the description below. Basically, if you're unsure about your thoughts on the subject, or if you just need some fodder to help convince your friends and family about why this issue is important, this video is for you. One video can't cover everything, so there are going to be many important things that I do not mention. I will be hopping into a few details and providing some examples here and there, but for the most part, this video is going to cover the what and the why. I'm also not going to cover anything about police abolitionism. That's a whole nother level of discussion that deserves a video unto itself. Okay, now here we go.
Here we go!
First things first, let's define what we're talking about. I'm sure a lot of things come to mind when you hear a phrase like defund the police, but don't assume you know what it means. Tucker Carlson is lying to you.
How many of these people died? How many were murdered by the rioters? We don't know yet. At the least, some were likely disabled for life. They were beaten that badly. And then there was the mass stealing. It seemed to be everywhere over the weekend.
Yeah, let's suggest that someone was murdered without actually saying it. Just ask the question. No one will draw conclusions from that, even though you're providing no real evidence and just guiding someone's thought down a dangerous path. Thanks, Tucker. Your input is, as always, destructive and harmful. So what are people actually advocating for when they say defund the police? The simple definition is this. Defunding the police means reducing police budgets and the reach of police power on a local and state level. This is so that money can be used directly to support and assist people who are in need of help. This could be financial help, mental health care, public schooling, public transit, you name it. Now you may think, public transit, public schools, those already exist. I don't get it. And you're right, we do have public services, but each year our local and state governments, in general, don't give these departments enough money to actually be good at what they're supposed to do.
All across the state, rural hospitals are on the brink of collapse.
2 hospitals closing for good, leaving patients and doctors to fend for themselves.
Hospital administrators are fearing shortages in staffing, in supplies, and in cash.
I did not know that Detroit Public Schools was in such bad condition.
The United States hasn't tapped into the full economy-saving power of infrastructure since the middle of the last century, both in terms of building new stuff and keeping the old stuff in working order, and it shows.
This brings us to the next important question. Why? Why should we defund the police? How is that gonna help? The way it works right now in many towns, cities, and states is this. Your government says we need to spend less money, so every department's budget for that year gets less money put into it. Funding for roads, funding for education, funding for homeless shelters, all of those departments and more get paid less money in their yearly allowance that the government provides them, also known as their budget. This happens in most places across the country every year.
Mayor R.J. Berry's plan to fill Albuquerque's $66 million budget gap includes an across-the-board pay cut for workers.
Cuts are on the way for the city of Houston. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Gutierrez.
Hello, I'm Dominique Soxa. Budgets slash, thousands out of work, and cities across Michigan are looking for some sort of solution. In Jackson, that solution is going to cost people their jobs.
But police departments across the country usually get a raise every year.
Detroit police officers are getting a pay raise to make up for the lost ground during and since the city's historic bankruptcy.
With the results pending for a federal probe of APD officer-involved shootings, Albuquerque Mayor R.J. Berry is asking for more money for the police in the city's budget.
The chief presented the Billings Police Department's upcoming fiscal year budget, which calls for a $726,000 increase.
The city of Austin's new budget includes money to hire 30 more police officers.
So this means we're not really cutting spending. We're not really saving any money. We're just moving it around to give more to the police. In other words, every part of local government ends up having their money taken by the police department. Now, I assume you understand basic math, so you know what this means. The police end up with way more money and way more personnel personnel than the rest of the government. With more money and more people than the rest of the government, the police are the only ones left with the resources available to do pretty much all of the work. The result is that you have police doing jobs that they are not qualified to be doing. For example, there is an extreme lack of funding for mental health care. So if you see someone having a mental breakdown in the street, the only government officials left to help this person are police officers. Why is this a problem? Well, it should be obvious. Police officers are not trained to adequately help someone who has severe mental illness. But because we have overfunded the police and cut funding to everyone else, they are the only ones left to deal with it. Police are the people with guns and handcuffs, not degrees in psychology. Therefore, it's no surprise that the way police deal with this problem is not going to be healthy. They're going to do the thing they know how to do: start arresting people. So in short, we need to defund the police because they shouldn't have to do all these different jobs. And the result is only more hurt people and more arrested people. And when you apply this problem to providing services in poorer communities of color, it only gets much, much worse. When police get their yearly budget increase, they don't pay for more textbooks. They don't hire psychologists or social workers. They buy more weapons. And it really should be no surprise that police would use that ever-growing arsenal against the marginalized communities in America. This is why people want to defund the police. Now, if you've been living under a rock and you need proof that police are disproportionately harming people of color in the United States, then here's the proof right at the bottom. If you need historical proof that police have always been oppressing Black Americans, then here's this.
Some of America's first law enforcement units were the slave patrols tasked with capturing and returning people who'd escaped from slavery. And when slavery ended, white people had no intention of letting that be the end of white power. As one Alabama planter said in the wake of emancipation, "We have the power to pass stringent police laws to govern the This is a blessing, for they must be controlled in some way, or white people cannot live among them." If we want to talk about how we got here, it's important to remember that we got here on purpose.
Systemic racism runs deeply in this nation's blood, and it's about time we fucking change it. You really gotta do some impressive mental gymnastics to come to a different conclusion. And you know what else? Truthfully, every community would be better served by peaceful social programs that actually try to address problems at the root. In other words, the role of police has expanded well beyond its breaking point, and we need to shrink it way down. Defunding the police is important because society's problems can't be solved with handcuffs and tear gas. We need more funding to go to the parts of government that are meant to help us, not arrest us. And that's the info about that. And a quick shout out to my new friend, the Future Collective, Future Cooperative, who is a musical artist who produced the primary song you heard in this video for like the first half of the video. That background music was done again by Future Cooperative. They are awesome, very talented, reached out to me to let me know they wanted to share some of their music for free. I'm really happy they did. Anyway, point is, you should check them out. Links in the description below. Stay safe out there.